The New Mexico desert holds secrets few men know. Among its red rocks and silent valleys, stories unfold far from the eyes of the world. Stories of courage, of choices, of moments that change destinies forever. This is one of those stories. Jonas Wheeler was 28 years old and had a dream, crossing the country to California, where they said a hardworking man could build a new life. He had sold everything he owned in Virginia, bought a strong horse, and headed west with nothing but hope and determination. He had been riding for 3 weeks of dust, sun, and solitude. His map was old and not always reliable. Their provisions were running low, but Jonas wasn't the kind of man who gave up easily. That August afternoon, the heat was almost unbearable. The sun seemed determined to suck every drop of moisture from the world. Jonas had stopped in the shadow of a rock formation to rest his horse when he saw something move on the horizon. A figure, staggering, moving too slowly to be healthy. Jonas stood up and squinted against the light. The figure was coming towards him, but not in a straight line. He zigzagged like someone who could barely stand. He got on his horse and went to meet him. When he got close, Jonas discovered that it was a man, young, maybe the same age as him. His skin was tanned by the sun, his long black hair was covered in dust. He wore leather clothes decorated with beads and feathers that Jonas recognized immediately. A Native American, probably Navajo from the region. The man fell to his knees before Jonas could reach him. His eyes were sunken, his lips chapped. He was clearly exhausted and dehydrated. Jonas quickly dismounted. Hey, are you okay? The man looked up. For a moment, Jonas saw something in them. Not afraid, not hostility. Just a deep exhaustion, the kind that goes beyond the body and reaches the soul. The native tried to speak, but his voice didn't come out. Just a hoarse sound, like dry leaves blown by the wind. Jonas didn't hesitate. He opened his canteen, the only one he had, with enough water for perhaps another day, and offered it. Here, drink slowly. The man looked at the canteen, then to Jonas. His eyes asked a silent question. Why? Jonas didn't need to understand the language to recognize the doubt. He knew what many white men did when they encountered natives alone in the desert. I knew about the stories of cruelty that circulated in the cities. I knew that offering help was the last thing the man expected. Because you need it, Jonas said simply. Let's go. Drink. The native took the canteen with trembling hands and drank. Slowly at first, as Jonas had instructed, then more urgently. When it finally stopped, almost half of the water was gone. Jonas didn't care. The man tried to return the canteen, but Jonas shook his head. Keep it. Finish. Something changed in the native's expression. The distrust gave way to something softer. Surprise, perhaps, or the beginning of something like gratitude. He drank the rest of the water. When he finished, his voice finally found the strength to come out. Thanks. The word was in English, heavily accented but perfectly clear. Jonas smiled. You speak my language. Little, the man replied. I learned from traders. Jonas nodded and looked around. The sun was starting to set, but there were still hours of heat ahead. And now he had no more water. Do you know where there is water around here? A spring, a river, anything? The native studied Jonas's face for a moment. He seemed to be making a decision. Yes, he said finally. I know, I show. With effort, the man stood up. Jonas offered his arm to support him, and this time the native accepted. My name is Jonas Wheeler. The man nodded. Ahiga. My name is Ahiga. It means... He fought. Jonas helped Ahiga onto the back of the horse and mounted the front. The animal complained briefly about the extra weight, but complied when Jonas guided it forward. Where to? Ahiga pointed north, toward a range of low mountains that rose on the horizon. There, water there. They rode in silence for nearly an hour. The sun dropped lower, painting the sky orange and red. Jonas could feel Ahiga leaning against him, still too weak to stand fully upright. What happened to you? Jonas asked, eventually. How did you end up alone in the desert? Ahiga was silent for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was heavy. I was looking for my brother. He went hunting, didn't come back. I followed. Many days of walking. I lost my horse, fell into a canyon. I lost my water. Very strong sun. How long did you walk without water? 2 days, maybe 3. I don't know anymore. Jonas whistled softly. 3 days in the desert without water. It was a miracle that Ahiga was still alive. Your brother. Did you find it? Ahiga shook her head. No, but I won't give up. He's my brother. Jonas understood that feeling. He had lost his own brothers years ago to illness and accidents. He knew what it meant to worry about family. I knew what it meant to not give up. We will find it, he said. After you recover, we will search together. Ahiga turned his head, surprised. Why would you do that? Because you need help. And because I'm not in a hurry to get anywhere. It was true. California wasn't going anywhere. She would be there when Jonas arrived, whether it was a week from now or a month from now. But Ahiga needed help now. Some things were more important than destinations. They arrived at the spring when the sun was touching the horizon. It was a beautiful place. Crystal clear water sprouting from between the rocks, surrounded by green vegetation that seemed impossible in the middle of so much dry land. A small oasis hidden in the mountains. Jonas helped Ahiga dismount and took him to the water. The two drank until they could no longer drink. Jonas filled the canteen. He let the horse drink freely. Night was falling quickly now. Jonas began to gather sticks for a fire. "Let's camp here," he said. "You need to rest. Tomorrow we decide what to do." Ahiga nodded, clearly too exhausted to argue. He sat down against a rock and closed his eyes. Jonas lit the fire and prepared a simple meal with the provisions he still had, beans and hard bread. It wasn't much, but it was warm and it was food. He gently woke Ahiga up when he was ready. "Eat. You need to regain your strength." Ahiga ate in silence. When he finished, he looked at Jonas with an expression that was difficult to decipher. "You are different," he said. "Different how? Other white men, they don't help. They pass right by. Or worse." Jonas shrugged. "I'm not other men. It's just me." Ahiga was silent for a moment. Then he said something in his own language. The words were soft, almost musical. "What does this mean?" Jonas asked. Ahiga almost smiled. "It means man with a good heart. That's what my people call people like you." Jonas felt something warm in his chest. Not pride, exactly. Something simpler. The feeling of having done the right thing. "Sleep," he said. "I take the first watch." Ahiga didn't protest. Within seconds, his breathing became slow and regular, the sleep of the exhausted. Jonas sat by the fire, watching the flames dance. The surrounding desert was silent, only the occasional howl of a coyote in the distance breaking the stillness. He thought about his journey, in the California that awaited him, in the plans I had made, and he thought about how sometimes the most important plans are the ones we don't make, those that arise from unexpected encounters, the ones that are born when we choose to help a stranger. Jonas didn't know what the future held, but in that moment, sitting next to a campfire in the middle of the desert, caring for a man he had just met, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. It was then that he saw it. On the horizon to the south, a glow began to appear. At first, it was just a point of light, easy to mistake for a low star, but then it split into two, then in four. Then many more. Jonas stood up, his heart racing. Torches, dozens of them. No, more than dozens. There were at least 100 points of light moving on the horizon. 150, maybe more. They were coming from the south, moving in organized formation. They came quickly. Jonas ran to Ahiga and shook him. "Wake up! We have company." Ahiga opened her eyes instantly, survival instinct cutting through sleep. When he saw the torches, his face became serious, but not scared. Jonas noticed this. Ahiga didn't seem scared. "Do you know who they are?" Jonas asked. Ahiga slowly stood up, eyes fixed on the approaching lights. "Yes," he said. "I know." And before Jonas could ask further, Ahiga put 2 fingers to her mouth and whistled. A loud, sharp sound that cut through the night like a blade. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the torches stopped. The silence that followed was absolute. Not even the coyotes dared to make a sound. Then, a single torch broke away from the group and began to advance alone. Jonas felt every muscle in his body tense. His hand went to the revolver on his hip, but Ahiga placed a hand on his arm. "No," he said. "Wait." The torch approached. The knight carrying her gradually became visible. A man riding a painted horse, wearing elaborate clothing decorated with feathers and beads. His face was serious, but not hostile. He stopped a few feet away and said something in a language Jonas didn't understand. Ahiga responded in the same language, her words quick and urgent. The conversation lasted several minutes. Jonas watched, trying to decipher what was happening from the tone and expressions. The knight looked at him several times during the conversation, his eyes assessing. Finally, Ahiga turned to Jonas. "This is Bidziel. He is, what do you call it? A messenger, a scout. He leads the search party." "Search group?" "For me," Ahiga said. "My people have been looking for me for 3 days. When I didn't come back, they came after." Jonas looked at the torches on the horizon. 150 people, minimum, all looking for one man. "All this for you?" Ahiga hesitated. I'm not just anyone, Jonas. My father is the leader of our tribe, and my brother, the one I was looking for. He's the oldest son, the heir." Jonas felt the weight of that revelation. "You are the son of a boss." Yes. And your brother? Bidzeel says they found him, Ahiga replied. He's fine. He had been injured in a fall, but managed to reach an allied village. They sent a messenger, but the messenger lost me on the way. Jonas let out a sigh of relief. So it's okay. Your brother is safe. You are safe. Ahiga nodded. But there was something more in his eyes, something he hadn't said yet. Bidzeel wants to know about you, Ahiga said. He wants to know why a white man is with me. Why did you help me? And what did you say to him? I told the truth. That you found me when I was about to fall, that you shared your water with me when you didn't have to, that you brought me here and took care of me without asking for anything in return. Ahiga paused. I told him that you are a good-hearted man. Bidzeel spoke again, this time directly to Jonas. Even without understanding the words, Jonas could feel the weight of them. Ahiga translated. He wants to know if you are willing to meet my father. The entire tribe is here. My father wants to meet the man who saved his son. Jonas looked at the torches on the horizon. 150 warriors at least, an entire army that had come to look for the chief's son. And now they wanted him to come to them. Part of him wanted to refuse. The part that knew the stories, that knew the conflicts, that understood the dangers. Going to meet an entire tribe, alone, in the middle of the night, wasn't what most people would call a wise decision. But then he looked at Ahiga. He saw the hope in his eyes, the trust, gratitude, and he remembered why he had helped in the first place. Not because I expected something in return, not because it was safe, simply because it was the right thing to do. Let's go, Jonas said. Take me to your father. Ahiga smiled. It was the first time Jonas had really seen him smile. Thanks, he said. You won't regret it. They mounted and rode towards the torches. As they got closer, Jonas could see more details. They weren't just warriors. There were women too, children, elders, an entire tribe, mobilized to find their leader's children. The torches opened to let them pass, forming a corridor of light. Curious faces watched them from all sides. Some children pointed and whispered. Some adults maintained neutral, cautious expressions. In the center of the group, a man was waiting for them. He was older than the others, with gray hair tied in long braids and a face marked by decades of experience. But his eyes were young, alive, full of a keen intelligence that seemed to see everything. He wore elaborate clothes, different from those of the others. An impressive headdress rested on her head. Turquoise and silver necklaces adorned her neck. The boss. Ahiga dismounted and ran to hug her father. The boss held him tightly, his eyes closed, murmuring words that Jonas didn't understand, but whose meaning was universal. Relief, love, grateful to have your son back. When they finally separated, the boss looked at Jonas. His eyes were piercing. Appraisers, but not hostile. Ahiga spoke quickly, gesturing towards Jonas, telling the story of what had happened. The boss listened without interrupting, his expression revealing nothing. When Ahiga finished, silence fell over the group. Then the boss walked up to Jonas. He stopped in front of the horse, looking up. For a long moment, nothing was said. Afterwards, the boss extended his hand. Jonas didn't hesitate. He dismounted and shook the offered hand. The boss spoke. His voice was deep, full of authority, but also something softer. Ahiga translated. My dad says, thank you for saving your son's life. He says that a man who shares his last water with a stranger is a man of great honor. Jonas nodded, not knowing what to say. The boss spoke again. He says you could have walked straight past, which most men would have passed. That many would have done worse things, but you chose to help. Not knowing who Ahiga was, without expecting a reward, just because it was right. The boss paused and said something else. Ahiga smiled as she translated. He says this is rare, rarer than gold, more precise IUs than anything the desert hides. The boss gestured and a woman approached, carrying something in her hands. It was a blanket, beautifully woven in vibrant colors. Red, blue, yellow, woven into patterns that told stories. My mom made this blanket, Ahiga said. It is a tradition of our people. Give gifts to those who help us. This one is for you. Jonas took the blanket. It was heavy, warm, made with care that he could feel in every strand. I don't need gifts, he said. I didn't help by expecting something in return. Ahiga smiled. I know. That's why you deserve to receive it. The boss spoke again, and this time there was greater weight to his words. My father says you are welcome among our people, that our lands are your lands, that if you need help, we will help, that if someone tries to harm you, we will know. Jonas felt a shiver run down his spine, not out of fear, of something bigger. He looked around for the torches that lit up the night, to the faces that watched him, for the entire tribe that had come looking for Ahiga and was now here, witnessing this moment. Thanks, he said. It's an honor. The boss nodded as if he understood, even without translation. Then he turned around and called something out loud. Immediately, the group began to move. The torches spun, forming a procession that began heading north. Ahiga mounted a horse that someone had brought for him. "Come," he told Jonas. "We go to our village. You will rest, eat, recover your strength. And then we talked about your future." "My future?" Ahiga smiled mysteriously. "You're going to California, right? Well then, there's a better path than the one you were following. Safer, faster. My people know this path. Oh, we can show you." Jonas considered that. A safe path through the territory. Guides who knew the land. Help he never expected to receive. All because he had shared a canteen of water with a stranger. "Let's go," he said. "Show me this way." The torchlight procession snaked through the mountains like a river of light. Jonas rode alongside Ahiga, surrounded by people who, just a few hours ago, were complete strangers. And now they were allies, friends maybe. The village appeared when the first ray of sunlight touched the horizon. It was bigger than Jonas expected. Dozens of tents organized in concentric circles, surrounded by corrals full of horses and fields where children were already starting to play in the dawn light. They were met with celebration. Women sang. Children ran around the horses. Elders waved and smiled. Jonas was treated like an honored guest. They gave him food. They gave him water. They gave him a place to sleep. And when he finally closed his eyes, exhausted but at peace, he thought about how life took strange turns. He had left Virginia in search of a dream. California, a new life, a different future. I didn't expect to find anything like this in the middle of the desert. He didn't expect that a simple act of kindness could open doors he didn't even know existed. But that's how it worked, wasn't it? Kindness had a power of its own. She created connections where there were none. He built bridges over chasms that seemed insurmountable. He turned strangers into friends and enemies into allies. Jonas had shared his canteen because it was the right thing to do. And now, lying in a warm tent, surrounded by people who had welcomed him like family, he understood something important. The destination was not a place on the map. It wasn't California or Virginia or any other spot you could mark with a finger. Destiny was the choices we made along the way, the hands we extended, the canteens we shared, the strangers we decided to help. Jonas Wheeler fell asleep with a smile on his face, and when he woke up hours later, he discovered that his journey was just beginning. In the weeks that followed, Jonas learned more than he had in all his previous years. Learned about the land, about the plants that could be eaten and those that should be avoided, about the secret trails that cut through the mountains, about the signs that indicated water even when there seemed to be none. Learned about people, about their stories, their traditions, their hopes for the future, about how they lived in harmony with the land that surrounded them, about how they treated each other with respect and dignity. And he learned about himself, about the kind of man he wanted to be, about what really mattered in a life. When he finally left for California 2 months later, Jonas was no longer alone. Ahiga and a group of young warriors accompanied him for 3 weeks, guiding him through territories he would never have been able to cross alone. They left him at the edge of the last desert, with enough provisions for the rest of the journey, and a map drawn on leather showing every source of water to the coast. The farewell was difficult. "You will always be welcome among us," Ahiga said. "It doesn't matter how much time passes. It doesn't matter how far you go. You have a family here." Jonas embraced the man who had started as a stranger and become a brother. "Thanks. For everything." "No," Ahiga smiled. "Thank you. For reminding me that there are still good men in this world." Jonas mounted his horse and rode away. He looked back only once. Ahiga and the others were still there, waving, their silhouettes silhouetted against the dawn sky. Then he turned forward and continued. California was waiting for him, but now he knew it wasn't the final destination. It was just another stop on a journey that would last a lifetime. A journey that had started with a simple act of kindness, a canteen of water shared with a stranger, and 150 torches appearing on the horizon. Jonas Wheeler lived a long and full life. He built a farm in California. He got married. He had children and grandchildren. He has prospered in ways he never imagined possible. But he never forgot that night in the desert. He never forgot the torches. He never forgot the man he saved and the family he gained. And every time he saw someone in need, he stopped. He extended his hand. He offered what he had. Because Jonas Wheeler had learned the most important secret in life. Kindness is never wasted. It may seem small at the moment. A canteen of water, an outstretched hand, a choice to help when it would be easier to ignore. But these little kindnesses have the power to change the world. One person at a time, one choice at a time, one night at a time. Until suddenly you look back and see 150 torches shining on the horizon, not as a threat, but as a promise that you're not alone, that kindness always finds its way back. That, at the end of the day, what we give to the world is exactly what we receive from it. And that more than gold or land or anything else, is the true treasure.